Evening, guys. Thanks for jumping on and listening to me speak about mantrailing. Tonight's webinar is on using mantrailing to build a better emotional state in dogs. As going along, just unmute yourself, asking questions or ask question in chat, and then as we come to the end, I will run over it. I'm going to put the presentation up and then kind of talk through that as we go along, and kind of give my opinions on how we can use mantrailing to better dogs, but and how the limitations of mantrailing with some dogs with behaviour issues. I do apologise as well. I have a Dutch herder on crate rest in the office with me, and I have 2 feral kittens, so you may occasionally see me have to deal with them. Not an ideal situation, but here we are. So I'm just going to share my screen, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I want you to see. Okay, super. There we go. Super duper, guys. So using mantrailing to build a better emotional state in your dog. For me, this is something that I have a lot of background in, but I have a lot of heart in as well. For those that you didn't know, I'm not just a mantrailing and tracking instructor. I was a canine behaviourist for, I don't know, before I started mantrailing, probably about 6 years before I started mantrailing, and I have a previous background in security dogs. So I have been a specialist behaviour and bite history cases for the past decade. I started with security dogs that bit people. I started training security dogs, and I went straight into behaviour after university, working with these bite history cases. I had the knowledge, I had the skills, and actually I had the setup to rehab these dogs. So I have worked with a lot of emotionally damaged dogs. I've worked with a lot of owners that are at the end of their tether, and I've worked a lot of situations where we need to find solutions to help change that dog's emotional output. Otherwise, that dog's got a one-way ticket to death's door. It's not a nice thing to talk about. It's not something I'm proud of, but there are situations we've had to work in where we've had no option but to work towards these dogs' happiness using different things. I got into mantrailing as something to do with my own dogs, and then the instructor curse hit, and I ended up teaching more and more. And my behaviour knowledge and my behaviour background has become really intrinsic to what I do as a mantrailing instructor, and it's one of the reasons why I'm able to help teams so much. Just because I have a decade of working with reading dogs' behaviour. One of the reasons I don't get bitten when I'm doing stuff is because I can see it coming a mile off, and it works the same mantrailing. I am a dog addict as well. I currently have 8 dogs and now 2 feral kittens and a cat. So dog behaviour and dog language is my absolute bread and butter world. I just freaking love dog behaviour. Most of my rescues have bite histories. They're here with me because there is nowhere else for them to go. They were all death row dogs, or I've got puppies that I've brought on. So I've got a mixture of different dogs. They're all high drive, they're all Springer Spaniels, Dutch Herders, Malinois, or German Shepherds. They're all in that category of problem dogs. So yeah, let's get on to this. This webinar is not going to be like, yes, you should do mantrailing, it's going to save the world, or no, don't do mantrailing, it's going to ruin your dog. This webinar is about kind of thinking about, if you're thinking about using mantrailing as part of your behavior stuff, then think about it closely, think about what you're doing. If you're going to start mantrailing to help with your reactive dog or a dog with issues, then this might give you a yes or no to what you're doing. So what are emotions? The fact that you're already here tells me that you want to know more about your dog's emotions. You're already intrinsically involved in your dog's emotions, or you're at the point where you're confused about what your dog's doing and you kind of want a bit of help. And the title of like, how I can use mantrailing to affect my dog's emotional state just really resonated with you. We're talking about changing the dog's thought processes when it comes to something that it finds frightening. So we all have rational fears. I don't like spiders. I'm much better with spiders because I have a toddler now and I really don't want him to freak out at spiders. But I have a rational fear of spiders. A spider's never hit me on the face, never got to me, never done anything. But I have a rational fear of it. No amount of chocolate cake and gin is going to stop me being scared of spiders. But my rational brain will eventually get into the point where nothing's scary. A spider has never bitten me, has never attacked me. So I know that they're not going to get me. I just don't like them. And that's kind of where we're getting mantrailing dogs to, is it's a spider. If I'm going to leave it alone, it'll leave me alone. I'm never going to really fall in love with having a spider in my house, but they keep the flies away. So lots of Mantrailing dogs get to that point where they can cope with trailers, they can cope with strangers, they can do things in the proviso that people just stay over there and stay at arm's reach, which is kind of where I think a lot of reactive dogs get to in Mantrailing, and get to the point where they're like, okay, I can deal with this specific set of situations. And then it will leach into the rest of the world. You know, if I was still terrified of spiders the other day when I was driving and a spider fell down from my while driving, I didn't crash the car and burn it to the ground. I went, ah! And just waited for time it was sensible to pull over and remove said spider without crashing. I put him on the side of the road. He was fine. So that emotional state of change is things that dogs find scary, whether there's a reason, there's emotional trigger from something that's happened to them, or whether it's just a rational fear that's built up on education from other dogs, education from people in the home, education from puppyhood. You know, dogs aren't born being frightened of things, but they can pick up fear very quickly. Anxiety, that fear of the unknown, drives a lot of dogs to problems. And just being pessimistic. Some dogs, like us, are optimistic, and they like Labrador, like, hi, you might have food, world's amazing. Other dogs are more pessimistic, so your guardian breeds, or maybe some of your smaller breeds that go, no, 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 like, scary things happen out there. I want nothing to do with this. So it can come from a lot of different places of emotion. But fear is generally the biggest one I see when I'm dealing with bite history cases, or I'm dealing with dog coming to me Mantrailing with emotional problems. And emotional problems is really the wrong word, is big emotions, or emotions that leak out in a way that we don't find good. So the dog in this photo is Grim. Grim is one of my German shepherds. Grim came to me as a behaviour case. He's part of a police court order. He is with me until he dies. He can never be rehomed. And if he ever reoffends, so if he ever puts teeth on somebody ever again, he is one-way ticket to the vets. Like, there's no questions with him, unfortunately, because of his previous behaviour. He's a big cutie pie, but he is such a fucking pessimist, man. Like, he thinks the world's out to kill him. And one of the reasons he's been very reactive is because he never had any socialization. I'm using tracking to build his emotional happiness. I'm building that optimism in him without having to risk people, because I can't actually use him for Mantrailing ever. I won't put him at risk of potentially accidentally hurting somebody because somebody's idiocy, and him reoffending and being put down because of it. I want to give him a healthy life. So I use scent in lots of different ways for him, because I'm not, even if I muzzled him, if he muzzle punched somebody and hurts them, he's got a one-way ticket to death. So why would I ever put him at that risk? He is like Asperger child. But we use tracking and trailing in different ways to help him adjust to the world and actually interact with people in a safe way that means that he gets the option to do cool things, but doesn't have to put himself at risk. He's a real sweet pea, to be fair. So emotion dives, responses. Emotion is the reasons that your dog's brought from danger. Emotion is the reason your dog wants to approach a person. Emotion is the reason your dog reacts to dogs. Emotion is the reason you care about your dog's emotional needs. That's a picture of me and Josie, my rescue Dutch herder. I don't like to be licked by dogs. And my emotional response to that situation was, what? It was automatic. Didn't even think about the camera being on me. She was trying to shove that ball in my gob. And I'm actually restraining her, trying to keep the ball away from me and trying to push her away at that point. That's an automatic emotional response. Our dogs, when they are doing things day-to-day life, yes, we can build in training and change those emotional responses, but initially we're dealing with those automatic ones. Get away from me. Oh, fuck off, I'm going to bite you. Like, you're frightening me, you're scaring me, you're the unknown. Oh, you're really happy, you have cheese. Like, it's dealing with like emotional response straight off the bat. And it's really interesting. So as much as my feral kittens may or may not come with this bit, is I've got two feral kittens. One clearly hasn't seen an awful lot. She's fine. She's a bit cautious of people, but she's like, meh, you're not scary, so everything's okay. She doesn't want to be handled, but she's not scared of everything. I have another one who is obviously been frightened or has learned to be frightened, and they're called Alan and Maud. And Alan, the black one, I don't know if he's a boy yet. I haven't got close enough to find out what it is. He's just fearful. Like, I've done nothing to him to make him fearful, but he is fearful. And I'm having to go through these emotional changes with him in order to help him build up resilience to life. Otherwise, he's got to get out of my house and get run over something stupid. So we've got to work with that. And the same with dogs. You know, some dogs are going to be like, oh, fuck, and other dogs aren't. So what causes emotions? This is going to be really brief. There are much better people to talk about this than me. This is just an oversight to get into the Mantrailing stuff. And I think we've got to start with one side to get to the other. This stuff is also changing quite considerably, quite quickly at the moment. A lot of the older studies are being changed. And I keep my little hat in on the behaviour stuff, even though I only do it part-time at the moment, because the studies that a lot of this was originally developed on are being debunked and changed. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's silly. It is what it is. So we know that dopamine, we all do Mantrailing, we're addicted to Mantrailing. It's dopamine, it creates addictions and it creates habits, good and bad habits. It's why your dog sits by the fridge and begs for cheese. It's dopamine. It's why your dog understands that if it does stuff, it gets rewarded. Dopamine. It's why you're here listening to me talking about Mantrailing and dog training, because your dopamine in your brain wants the good stuff. It wants to feel good about what you're doing with your dog. It's why you go Mantrailing. It's why you take your dog for a walk. It's why you get your ass out of bed and do things. It's also why you create addictions. It's why people get addicted to smoking, cocaine, gambling, you name it. Dopamine creates addictions. And you have to understand that when we work with Mantrailing, we often work in high dopamine, high arousal dogs. Dogs that are like, I need my addictive fix, or I'm going to fucking lose my mind. And that's a dangerous knife to be on sometimes, because we can get a lot of redirection behavior. We can get a lot of low dopamine causes like low mood and causes acting out. So like a good example is these dogs that, you know, people throw a lot of balls for. If you've got a ball mad dog and you throw it and throw it and throw it, and you go, okay, look, you know what, you're knackered, and you put this ball away, and the dog's like, if you put that ball away, I will stab you. It's that kind of behavior. It's that like, don't you dare take this away from me. You get the same behavior of me if you try and take away my chocolate cake. I will stab you with a fork, because that's my dopamine. It's the time I sit on TikTok scrolling. I need 10 minutes to myself. That's my dopamine, even though I shouldn't be on TikTok because it rots your brain. It's mindless. It's mindless, but it's dopamine. So it forms good habits and it forms bad habits, but it's one of the big drivers in what we do in Mantrailing. Serotonin. We've got that happy feeling. It regulates our mood. It inhibits aggressive responses. It can cause other problems because hormones all work together and you get highs and lows and peaks and troughs. And so, yeah, it can inhibit aggressive responses, but equally it can cause dogs to inappropriate responses in situations like flirting around, going, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. Oxytocin. So it's always been, this isn't when the new studies and stuff are coming in. I was reading about this today and I had to change the presentation because of it. So oxytocin is like the bonding hormone. It's what makes you fall in love with your baby. Yes, it does. It absolutely does that. It what makes me love my child very, very much, even though sometimes as a toddler, he's a pain in the bum, because all toddlers are. It's what makes me love all my dogs, even if sometimes I want to shoot them because they're a pain in the bum. It's the emotional response. But oxytocin is not just about affection and love. It's a social amplifier. So it also amplifies negative things. So you ever been sitting somewhere fuming about somebody because they're at the party, you're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're like, what the hell? That's linked to oxytocin. That little social, like, oxytocin. So we will see that in Mantrailing dogs as well. When they're working, maybe they're finding somebody, get to the end and their emotional response has changed. They get to the end, they're having really good time, dopamine addiction, and that person does something they shouldn't be doing. They don't play in the right way, they don't respond in the right way. That person's hiding up a tree and changing their response. And that dog goes, I don't like this. Yeah, you get a release of oxytocin, but the oxytocin then boosts that stranger danger. So emotions are a bit crazy. A lack of these chemicals causes irritability, increases chemicals causes problems. So there's lots of different things. And when we're looking at Mantrailing, we're like, yeah, look, that was amazing time, build dopamine, isn't it great? And then we go, oh my God, my dog's a complete psycho days. It doesn't do things because it's affecting things. We're building addiction and we're stepping into OCD problems. And my little behavior brain goes, fucking hell, not this shit. Because that's a really big problem for behaviorists to deal with and dog trainers to deal with when people get into addictive and OCD behaviors in dogs. But my little Mantrailing brain goes, best Mantrailing dog on the planet. It like picks up habits immediately, you know, works it all out, jobs are good. And so we've got to balance these things, and we've got to be a bit more smart about what we're doing when we're looking at emotions of our dogs. And I think mantrailing in many cases can actually really help emotional states in dogs if done the right way, and not a blanket statement of let's hide the bush and make the dog do it. Oh yeah, they'll be fine with people because they've got cheese. No, think about these things, guys. Like, we can be better. So anyway, the rant goes on further. Sniffing success, so that we know there's studies on it, we've all seen it, we're all banging on about it, different scent work people of any variety, whether they do nose work, scent work, tracking, trailing, mantrailing, whatever with a dog's nose, truffle hunting. It activates a seeking system in the brain. Our dogs, who are intrinsically designed to use their nose in order to find dinner, in order to find mates, in order to survive as part of their primary life, they start sniffing, which releases nice dopamines in the brain, promotes aspects of survival. But that aspect of survival is also what can cause problems. So the dog's sniffing under stress, that dog's sniffing and then tipping into primal things like bitches in season or there is food, they're not going to prioritize mantrailing, and emotional change in mantrailing is going to happen if that dog's stressing over here about finding its next meal because you starved it all day and brought it to mantrailing in the evening, it's hungry. We can have conflict with things like that. Like, sniffing does equal success, but you do need to think about how you build that success in those dogs and what's actually happening. If I'm absolutely starving and I've not eaten all day, and then you tip me to dinner, but I have to solve a maths problem before I get dinner, I'm going to be stressed. I'm not going to enjoy the situation. I'm going to do the maths problem as quickly as I can, probably not very well, and in order to then wolf my dinner down because I'm hungry. At no point did I actually enjoy that. And yes, we want our dogs to have enriching lives. We want our dogs to problem solve. But even if I problem solve really quickly, the stress of being presented with a maths problem prior to eating my cake is going to cause some issues. Josie, no, you're on rest. Sorry, she's spinning a little bit. She can feel the energy change in me as I get into a rant about fucking mantrailing. So, when they're seeking a resource, like we tip into that food drive, that hunt, pray, kill business, we're tipping into that primal motion. And yeah, in some dogs, that becomes amazing. We can use it to empower them. We can play at the end, like a little terrier taking a toy away together at the end and ripping it up and having this amazing time with their reward. Absolutely amazing, tipping into that amazing thing. A spaniel getting to the end and being forced to go to a person when they want to continue seeking has a negative effect on their emotions. So you all the time are thinking backwards and forwards all these things of, yes, I'm motivating my dog and I'm creating enrichment and different things, but is my dog enjoying this? Isn't always the case. It is 99.9%. Please don't go away and go, I can't do mantrailing, my dog might not be enjoying it. No, you can't force a dog to do mantrailing. You can't. But the same as us, like, we do things that we don't always super enjoy, like to the max, because we do it to please other people. We do it to please ourselves. We do it in order to better ourselves. Like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm never going to go to the gym. But if you forced me to the gym, I would go to the gym. I don't want to sit up and write reports of behaviour stuff, but I do it because it helps people. Doesn't help me, helps other people. And I get a little bit of dopamine out of that. So we know that sniffing reduces anxiety. We know that it lights up the seeking part of the brain and makes the brain feel warm and fuzzy. But just remember what emotion is coming behind that. And conflict emotions cannot exist together. So basis of many behaviour plans and teaching is you teach a conflicting behaviour, blah, blah, blah. So if your dog's sniffing and getting into that hunt mode and thinking, they're not thinking necessarily super much about the danger if they're just hunting and working and sniffing. So they're not worried about the person might right come around the corner, the person that might frighten them, the trail out at the end being somebody strange. They're like, oh, if I get to the end, I'm going to be able to devour my cheese pot. This is amazing. So they let go of some of those inhibitions and they change that emotional response in them. So it can help. It cannot help, but it's just thinking a little bit harder than going, oh, hide in the bush. The anxious dog will avoid, catastrophize, and will not investigate. So mantrailing is based on, we're just talking about getting into the sniffing mode. If you've got an anxious dog that will not investigate, mantrailing is not necessarily going to help right now, because your dog's not going to go, yes, I will find a stranger in a bush, or yes, I will go find mum in a bush. That dog goes, I'm in survival mode, mate. Like, I'm not thinking about some dickhead in a bush with cheese. Like, I want to get out of here. They're going to avoid things, and they're going to worry, and they're not going to choose to explore. So they're not seeking, they're shrinking, they're becoming little wallflowers, and it's really sad to see. And then no matter the amount of you going, oh, the cheese can be my friend, is going to pull that dog out of what they're doing. What you've got to do is look at that dog as an individual, and how can we get it to do things in other ways, which is one of the reasons that I've gotten towards tracking a little bit in the trailing, which is not having a person at the end. So mantrailing is teaching a dog to find a person, a specific person. Tracking is teaching dogs to follow primarily ground scent and ground disturbance. And trailing is kind of the middle. They can use ground scent, they can use air scent. They're generally not a person at the end because that's the man bit, so take the man bit away. And we're prizing more accuracy. So I've done a big blog about this. Like, don't worry about it. I'm not going to go into it too far. But like, we want to teach the dogs how to explore, and that doesn't always mean putting a person in the mix right now. We can use their odor, that's fine, in a non-stressful way, but I don't really want to put an idiot at the end that's going to undo my training plan right now. It's like handing a grenade to a child. They're going to pull the pin at some point. They might not mean to, but that pin's going to go. So when you've got an anxious dog, teach them to work forwards and follow scent, and start tipping into that, like hunting and seeking and searching, to make a difference. Putting a person into that who's not going to do as they're told can be a problem. We've all had a dodgy trail layer. It's not their fault. It just is life. Cake. So I love cake. I love chocolate cake. If anyone wants to bribe your friendship, bring me chocolate brownies and cake. This is just really cool. While bringing this photo, this is a nice photo. So by tapping to production of dopamine, and it needs to build habits, you can regulate your dog's emotion. Think cake. Always think cake. By talking about the cake before you get it, you can build anticipation for the cake. So you drive to the cake, you order the cake, and then you eat the cake. So I luckily had the great opportunity a couple weeks ago to work with Kevin Motion, who's a fellow Center for Dogs instructor, an instructor that I've known for like 4 or 5 years now, one of the few people that I will add put tracks out and trails out for my dogs. And he talked about on the first day, he went, hey, like when we're trailing tomorrow, there's going to be this really cool cake shop. I'm going to get you guys some cake at lunchtime if you do really well. But all I could think about was cake. So on Instagram, I looked at the cake shop. It's really good. It's called Josie's Cakes. It was really good cakes. I was like, oh, I hope we get some chocolate cakes. This would be amazing. Put a few tracks out in the morning. And then there's one trail was taking for ages to come back. Like, I was like, where's Kevin? He's getting the cake. Oh my God, he's getting the cake. He's getting the cake, because it took longer. And it came back 2 massive boxes of cake. And I was like, yes. All I could think about all Friday was getting the trails done, having amazing trails, so that I could have cake on the Saturday, because I'm a child. We're building up that emotion. So now my emotional happiness was not just into what my dog's doing, which I had an amazing time. They're amazing. It was about the fact these cakes were fucking brilliant. So I'd had not just a great time with my dogs, but I managed to add something else, and that anticipation had made it even better. And we can do that in Mantrailing. We can do that in any sort of dog sport or dog training, but we can build it in Mantrailing quite specifically, because we have specific things that equal happy emotions in Mantrailing. But we can build those emotions, and it's so good. Remember, the flip side of building happy emotions, you can always build wrong emotions, so it's always something to think about. But always think cake. So yeah, so Mantrailing is predictable. So a lot of people get the reward pots at home. We have really specific pots. We have maybe just mackerel for mantrailing. Like, I love a mantrailing specific reward because I want to build this predictability. One of the ladies that comes to me, she's got amazing Spinoni, and she goes, he starts crying when I get a knife out. And I'm like, what are you on about? She's like, I get a knife out of the drawer and I walk to the garage. And the only time I walk to the garage with a knife is when I cut up his pate for mantrailing. And now, so the dog, she'll open the drawer, get cutlery out 100 times, whatever, about a day. But if she gets a knife and walks towards the garage door, the second she heads towards the door, he starts crying because he knows he's going mantrailing. We build a predictable reward. We build a good emotional response, happiness. It's amazing. We start building. So we get the rewards at home. We pack the gear. Some people pack the gear. We arrive to a random group of people, usually in the dark. And the dog knows, because we stop, the person gets out, has a conversation with somebody, and then at some point in the next half an hour or so, that dog's going to get out and find somebody. And we can build that emotional, like, yay, in the dog by building these anticipations. If a dog obviously has like something, wants to work with an owner, wants to find people. So if they're a fearful dog and you start to build a bit of Mantrailing and build it in, this predictable setup can really help. And what also great about for the fearful dog is that they know the person won't touch them, and there is always a reward given. And no matter how hard it is or how easy it is, there's always a reward. 100% success rate. They get to solve a little bit of problem, have a little bit of that nice dopamine, and go, yes, I did it, I did it, I did it. That like, yeah. And the owner is calm. The emotional response coming from their handler is really good because there's somebody on their shoulders, a little angel, there's a little instructor next to them that's going, hey, I'm going to watch out for dogs. I'm going to watch out for people. I'm going to watch for cyclists. I am going to be here as your second set of eyes. You just need to watch that damn dog. I will take control. And everybody's stress drops down. So this dog comes to Mantrailing and goes, wow, you're not stressed. I get fucking pate. This is amazing. I get to find somebody who will not touch me, will only do as they're told. And I get to go back in the car where it's nice and calm, nice and safe. And my emotions are happy because everything is predictable. It is amazing. And that is great for lots of dogs. But then that can go a whack if things aren't predictable. So if you put a trail that's too hard or something goes wrong, there can be a big emotional thing. So emotional change. So we talked about the dopamine, yeah, it can be really good, but it can crash. So everything it's about building that steadiness in. And as much as we can with Mantrailing as instructors, we all do it. We manage the situation so that there's safety for you guys. As handlers, as fellow instructors, whatever, we set a trail up, it's always about managing the safety of the situation so that a dog can have the best time ever. The trail layer, my favourite person and my most hated person with Mantrailing, because a main trail layer can absolutely make a trail perfectly, or it can fuck a trail over. And it's not necessarily a trail layer's fault. It just happens. Trail layer, mispo, whatever you call them, person in the trail. They become rewarding to a lot of dogs, even dogs that have issues with people, because they're predictable and they're safe. I'm quite selective about who trail layers for some of my dogs that I'm working with because I need to build a positive emotional response. Some of them were allowed to talk dogs, some of them not allowed to talk. So I'm really funny about people touching dogs. If it's not your dog, unless you're specifically told to touch it, leave it the fuck alone because touching is very personal to lots of dogs. Same as me. Do not hug me. Do not touch me. I do not do physical stuff. I find it very aversive. So lots of dogs do as well. So the trail layer is something that they're part of that puzzle. There's part of that mix up. And when we do Mantrailing, we get little groups of people that come consistently. That consistent group of people that a dog knows will not touch them, that person's never been in conjunction with a dog if they're dog reactive. They've never had to see a dog with them. They've always problem solved, and then just enough to make their brain ache, but not enough to make them stressed. And they've got a reward. And their scent becomes familiar. That's that oxytocin bit that like, it's good. You're part of my little social group. I like it. It's good. A trail at the end can really make a trail by giving the reward at the right time, by sensible indication, by being something that the dogs find predictable rewarding. It can also completely fuck up a trail if someone doesn't do as they're told, or if something happens, the dog gets a trail layer and then a dog peers, like that trail layer can be really poisoned. Same as us, like we can poison food with the dogs by if we only use cheese round dogs when we're out training. So we've got a reactive dog, and every time you get a piece of cheese out, they're like, fuck, the cheese is here, which means there's got to be a dog. You brought something high value, which means there's going to be a dog. You can create this high arousal, this high alertness, oxytocin going the wrong way, and this high stress situation. So we can have the same thing in Mantrailing. We get a couple of trail layers that don't do as they're told, or that just mistime the rewards, because that can happen. I can't always blame the trail layers. Sometimes just shit happens. You can go from, yeah, I'll find people, to I'm not finding you, I'm not finding anybody because it's too frightening. The likelihood now has been enough chances that something go wrong. I'm freaking out. I'm not staying. I'm not doing it, I'm not finding them. So in some cases now, I've removed the trail layer. I get them to walk around the circle, leave a large scent article. I get them the dog within proximity. If I'm happy with the dog, I will just get the handler to reward and we'll leave. You followed the scent. You've done what I need you to do. You've just followed the scent. That's all I'm doing. Mantrailing is not about finding the person. Mantrailing is about sports mantrailing. I'll preface with that one. Sports mantrailing is not about finding the person. Operational often is. It's about your dog having fun. And if the person at the end is the fucking problem, I'm going to take them away for a little while, plonk them somewhere else, and I'm going to leave an article to finish the trail on. I'm going to leave a point where I'm going to finish that trail and reward that dog for a job well done, or I'm going to stop the dog before it gets that trail out. There's some different things I can do in order to help that dog's emotional state. I'm looking at the dog, and if that dog is avoiding the trail layer for whatever reason, and every dog's a little bit different. Sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's breed traits. Do they have to go to that person? No, they don't, because this is sportsman trailing, and this is not about getting to the end of the trail. This is about having fun with your dog and having a positive experience. So, tweaking things like that, having a sent article at the end, the person just either walks back, they can walk back on the trail, they can do lefts and rights. They got there, they can get back. They hide a little bit further away so they're out of sight of the dog, so the dog doesn't have to deal with seeing them. Or they just walk back in a circle. Like, people are perfectly capable of navigating themselves back to the car park. So you can play with those things. It's not the end of the world. Because what we're talking about is your dog's positive emotional state. I'm not talking about being the most amazing Mantrailing team in the world. That's different. I'm talking about having a great time with your dog, whether you already mantrail, whether you're thinking of mantrailing. Like, it's the person is not the be all and end all. How your dog works and how much fun dog has is what is the be all and end all. Because you can't force a dog to do mantrailing. You can take your dog for a very expensive walk, but you can't force them. And I've said it before, and I'll say it until the fucking day I die, I should imagine. Dogs' emotions on mantrailing, the behaviour you see when the dogs are trailing, are nothing to do with you as a handler. They're nothing to do with communicating to you. They're your dog's emotional response. And the whole time we are mantrailing, we are reading our dog's emotional response to situations. Sometimes that's the scent. Sometimes that's the scary things. And when you do mantrailing, you become an expert in your dog's body language. Or you should become an expert anyway. That's what you're working towards, that you can read when your dog's on the trail, when your dog's off the trail, when your dog's thinking about a squirrel, when your dog spotted something that frightens them, when your dog switch to another scent that they find rewarding, whatever. It's emotional change. Generalization. So we've had some really good trails with our dogs. They've met a couple of people that they knew before, but now they've learned to find those people. And now we're going to put a stranger out. This is amazing. They're going to find someone strange. So dogs can generalize. They can take the context of finding a person in the bush, a person they know, and find a stranger and not find that stressful. So one of the great things is that we're using that single scent. A rewarding scent, that person might have been hanging around the car park with everybody else for a long time. And the dogs learn to generalize that the people that hang around the car parks, people that are part of our scent picture when I'm out trailing, are the good people. So whenever someone joins the group, whether they're a new scent or not, they're part of the good people. So they get generalized as the good people. And it can make a difference to some of these reactive dogs. They start to see those scents together are good. And that can generalize out into the real world as well, because it goes from, I just meet group people mantrailing, they're a bit funny, they're okay, but then you could meet somebody and do some, with your instructor. I do a lot of training with my mantrailing dogs. I work with them as dog trainer behaviourist, and they see me out and about and they're like, super, like, when you're here, nothing bad happens, so brilliant. And you've got a dog? Well, I'm not worried about your dog. And because you're here and because mum's here and we're going for a walk and we're doing sniffy things, the world's fine. I don't about. So when I get removed again, the dog's like, oh no, we can do this. We can do this here once. And they start to generalize it. So there's emotions, good and bad, and they can generalize this learning. The bad learning is why when your dog barks at the doorbell, then they start barking at the window, then they start barking when we get off the sofa, then they start barking when the bird farts 4 fields over. They're generalizing the wrong way. But you can generalize in the right way. So, like Josie, my Dutch herder, she's got bite history. She hates people. Well, she had. She spent a lot of time around Titan, my big shepherd, who doesn't give a flying shit about people in life. He's just happy boy. And she looks at him and goes, well, he's not bothered, so why am I bothered? You're not bothered, so why is they bothered? Why are we bothering? Like, nobody's stressing. I haven't had any opportunity to stress with people. I've met a very select amount of strangers that I've had situations with. Nothing bad has happened, so I'm not stressing. And she started to generalize that the world isn't scary. So they can learn to know triggers. They can, generalize in other locations or contexts. I've got reactive dogs that have used very much the same venues and people want to stay there. But then, when we've gone somewhere different, that dog hasn't freaked out. But the owner's like, well, we're doing something different. The dog's going to freak out. No, because we're here. Everything's going to be fine. So this is now a location that you can use for walking and training because we've made it, big green tick, a safe place. Generalization tends to come out most in human reactivity, because when you use the trail layers and handlers, I've obviously just glossed over this now. The trail layers become food dispensers. People become an opportunity to get reward. Has a flip side to it, has a nasty side, that one we'll talk about in a second. So trailers become food dispensers. The dogs learn that people won't try to touch them, that people won't do the scary things that they find scary. And they aren't worried about groups of people because you ignore them. On the flip side of this, people become food dispensers. Random people on corners, sitting on benches, become food dispensers, and dogs can put themselves in scary positions in order to get food. So yeah, oh my god, my dog's on a trail, I have food, this is amazing. Oh my god, my dog wandered in the street and tried to get food. It's fine if the person ignores them. Not fine if that person then goes over that barrier that dog's not expecting them to cross and frightens them. So when we're doing this kind of training, we're building this nice generalization. You are still required as a handler and as an owner to advocate for your dog and not put your dog in a point where it's going to fuck itself up. I have 2 human reactive dogs. They are fine on my property with people. They are fine in general with people. It does not mean you can touch them. It does not mean I'm going to come over and make friends with you. It does not mean you have the right to walk up to me and start a conversation with me when those dogs are around, because I put those dogs up first. Just because they look like they're not doing anything doesn't mean they're not a risk. They're not been proof enough. And the generalization isn't good enough yet. So it's important that, yes, we have big successes with trail layers. My dog's done something amazing. It's gone to strangers. It maybe even likes strangers wagging its tail. Everything's good. The world's awesome. Oh, now they're going to do it to the stranger in the street. That stranger street is not going to do as they're told. Trail layers 9% do as they're told. The stranger street is going to do 10% as they're told. So it's good, but it has a nasty side. Please be careful when you're doing something. It's like, yes, we want to build up stuff, but you still have to advocate for the dog, and you still have to be sensible with dogs, especially human reactive dogs, because people are stupid and they do not listen to what you're doing at all. They're always stupid. Tapping genetic needs. So we briefly talked about that at the beginning. We're talking about dopamine. So breed traits, I could talk about breed traits all fucking day long. Like, I love it. It's my absolute ADHD specialism. Talk to me about some breed traits. Tell me what your dog's bred to do. I need to know. So when we talk about the predatory sequence, we're talking about orient, eye, stalk, chase, grab, bite, kill, bite, dissect, consume. So with Mantrailing, we're tapping into that, like, chase, consume. You can build and dissect different breeds and blah blah blah. So we're building and we're using these different sections to help build emotional state, because this predatory sequence we talked about before is a little bit stressful. Is good learning, because it means success. If I kill, bite, I'm going to eat tonight. Happy thoughts. If I stalk it, I'm going to have really good emotions in my brain because I'm a collie. It makes me feel good. Tapping into emotional trait. So I'm yawning, looking at screens, obviously the blue light and stuff makes me really tired, so it makes me yawn, so apologies yawning. It's not, I haven't tried to look in today, so I won't do it. Anywho, so breed traits, that intrinsic need to do certain things, builds happiness with dopamine because it's intrinsic. If I'm not diagnosed ADHD, I don't have ADHD, I eat my fucking hat. I need to have projects to work on. I need to have projects that I'm doing. If I do not have a project, if I do not have a goal of stuff, it makes me really itchy in the wrong way and makes my brain hurt. I need to have fuzzy goals I can work towards and bring into fruition. I need to be able to aim towards this. I need a diary full of stuff because it makes me feel good. I need to be the ADHD. I have a Dutch herder who wants to grab, bite, grab, kill. So we play lots of tug games, play lots of toy games, play lots of dissection games. I have spaniels that want to hunt. So we do loads of hunt games with them. Wait, stalk, chase the ball, chase the freaking bird, whatever. Like, we do things that build their genetics. Why we have lots of conflict with our dogs in the real world, because we don't tap into breed traits. Mantrailing, for the most, taps into those different breed traits and that predatory sequence, wherever it is along the sequence, to help take out some frustration in the real world with these dogs and help build up nice breed happiness. So it's one of the reasons why Mantrailing is great for lots of the higher drive dogs, or high drive. The dogs that tend to have a bit more energy or want to work all day because that's what their fucking job is. Because we can tap into those emotions, even if those emotions have been previously been negative, we can change them positive because it's happening in a good way and there's no punishment because you're chasing something. Build resilience by dealing with it, not avoiding it. So as much as I'm like, be careful what you're doing, build resilience by dealing with it. You can't get your dog better with people or dogs or life if you're wrapping a cotton wool and you refuse to take it outside. It's just not going to work. I'm not going to get better at what I do if I don't put myself in my comfort zone. I'm not going to get a better instructor if I don't stuck in lives and talk about these things, if I don't invest in myself, if I don't go and teach people. And dogs are the same. The dog's not going to build resilience to what's happening if you're avoiding it all the time. So mantrailing helps us work towards those things that might be a bit frightening, but in a very, very safe, controlled manner. The whole point of it is it's safe, though. It's not just, I'm going to find people in the bush. My dog's human reactive. I'm going to make sure they find everybody and they must find loads of people because that's going to fix it. No. But we're not going to avoid it. We're going to deal with it in a healthy manner. So why trailing? Why should we do some mantrailing with our dogs? So trailing allows dogs to follow a scent in a way that works for them. Dogs scent in different ways. It's like we have accents. I was talking to someone about this today. I was like, so we all speak English, but we all have different accents. And dogs scent in different accents. Think of it like that. Some dogs are real ground scenters and they like to sniff like this. Other dogs like to check air scent and ground scent. Other dogs like to check every little minute and do lots of detailing. Other dogs like to throw themselves in the deep end and hope for the best. It's all scenting, but it's different accents. And you can pick up different accents and you can learn a different accent, but you have to take a bit of time to do it. And we can all speak a couple of little words. Like I can put on a good Welsh accent because I'm Welsh. I can do a couple of words of like Midlandsy type, whether Hass and Wolverhampton, so I can pick up little bits like that. Like I can do little accents, but I can't stay in that accent unless I practice it. And that's the same with scenting. All our dogs can scent; they can all scent in their accent, but to learn another accent, to learn another way of doing it, takes a bit of time. But primarily, they follow scent in the way it works for them. They get to choose to lead their owner towards a goal. They get to take their owner as a team and work towards something. It's not the owner deciding when they're not fearful. It's not the owner throwing treats at their head and hoping for the best. It's not the owner dictating their life. That dog goes, oh, you want me to make the decisions? Fucking finally. And this dog has this freedom to work in a way that works for them, talking the accent they want, to do things for them. And you don't understand how little control dogs have over their lives. They live in our world doing our things. And mantrailing and tracking and trailing and whatever fucking scent work you want to do, like absolutely do all of it, allows that dog to have a little bit of its day where it gets to do what the fuck it wants to do. And that's important because we don't provide that anywhere else in their lives. Even the dog's off lead, it's not the same. They can find joy in scent without being rushed on a walk. Come on, go back. Come on, we're gonna go back. It's raining, or like I gotta go back to the meeting. I gotta go now. We've all guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. When mantrailing, there's no points for speed. There is no points for speed. So the dog gets to do things that rushed. The choice to choose. They can choose to follow the scent. They can choose to not follow the scent. Entirely up to them. We get them to lead the game. Natural ability to hunt is all natural. Scent work is all natural to them. So they absolutely love it. It's 100% success rate. Mantrailing is 100% success rate because we always get to the end by hook or by crook. So the dog always gets a good little like, woohoo. It's like, when you're playing on the slot machine, on the penny machines in the arcade, you get another penny back, jobs are good. You might have spent 15 quid on it, but you got a penny back. Jobs are good. Always a winner. By allowing the dog's choice to dictate their dopamine and their habits formed. So we do allow them choice. We want them to do things, but we also want them to have success. So we set up success with them if we do a track or we do a trail. We make sure it's set up that, you know, our dog run off the dogs off lead. We're not going to have somebody jump out of a bush and frighten them. It's why I trail in the dark a lot, so we don't see anybody. It's why I like pick private venues. It's trying to give the dog as much autonomy as possible, but in a little bit of bubble wrap, just a touch of bubble wrap around the edges. So we can build those better motor states by selecting where we trail, by selecting who we trail with, by selecting how we set up the trails, not too hard, not too easy, not too many distractions scent-wise. So we can build that correct emotional state in our dogs because the dogs need it. They need to have it. We can adapt the game by have someone at the end or not. We have generally people there, they listen, do as they're told. If you say don't touch your dog, don't touch your dog. If you say reward the dog after 3 seconds, reward it after 3 seconds. They listen, and that dog, so often the real world just isn't listened to. They give all these warnings. My dog bit out of the blue. Now your dog gave 100 warning signs before you read it. In Mantrailing, every trailer does the told, so every dog gets those insecurities listened to, and it's amazing. You work in a comfortable environment and a skill level at the dog's pace. There's no points for speed in Mantrailing. Some dogs will get it faster than others. That's fine. Your Malinois going to get it like that. Your Hound's going to get it like that. Your Spaniel might struggle a little bit because it wants to do other things. Your Terrier might think you're stupid. Your Kaiken Inuit breed dog that I'm working at the moment looks to turn like they're a tit, but it has such a good time and it looks slow. But that dog is having the best time ever. The rewards can come while they work or at the end. So if you do tracking or you do some like stuff with me on the scent input dog method, the reward comes when that dog's working along the scent. So we set up articles and opportunities for reward the dog's working. We don't just focus on the end of that trail. We focus on along the trail. It's not just about putting pots on it though. Have you seen the pots? Ignore the pots. We can reward when we want. We can tell that dog's a good dog. Even if you just do Mantrailing and you don't reward with articles, you can tell that dog it's a good fucking dog for taking a decision. It's made the right choice on the trail. Good dog. Yeah, come on, let's get to the end. This is awesome. You are leading me to this prize. I am so proud of you. Like, it's just like the best emotion in the world. Dopamine. And the reward can be food or play. It doesn't have to be a box of cheese or sardines. It can be the best game of tuggy you have ever done in your life with your dog next to a stranger, next to an area where there might be dogs, in an area where there's cars chasing across the road, your dog's car reactive. Like, you can build these huge wins for these dogs in such a simple way by just tapping into what the dog individually needs in their emotions, by actually fucking thinking about how your dogs think, and looking at what they need all the time. So I'm just going to go back a second. This Peruvian hairless dog, I know the only one my mate saying is, so she's one of the reasons why I've really threw the book out of the window recently and went, I'm fed with this. Look at the dog in front of me. So she's proven hairless. She's never had anything bad happen to her around people. She doesn't fucking like people. She doesn't likes her family. She tolerates my existence at the moment because I am not positive, but I'm neutral enough that she knows I won't touch her. And she hates people. Mantrailing does not work for her. She does not want to find the person at the end. She doesn't want anything to do with them. And actually, it was becoming a really, really big negative to her. So she's beautiful. Use a nose. She has the best nose ever. She will hunt all the way until she gets proximity. As soon as she clutches that scent for that person, she will stop dead and this conflict will hit. And the conflict is, do I go and find that person to get a jackpot or do I fucking run for the hills? And it was awful to see this dog go, ugh, you literally see her physically stop and any joy just leave her head. So Mantrailing become really, really negative to her. So I had a chat with her handler and I said, hey, let's get rid of the person at the end. And fuck this, we're going. I'm not having this. This dog is really good at following scent. She's mega accurate. She basically, like, she's perfect on it. And the person's ruining it for her. We did flips. We did all sorts of different things to try and build providing the trail layer. The trail layer is not her family members. With the handler handling, that dog wouldn't. If she was inclined to be a person at the end, she won't do it. But she will follow a track. She will follow a trail all day long, as long as there's nobody at the end. And it's amazing. And even if you put too big a scent article out, she has emotional, like, you can see her going, what? It's like, it's horrible. So we changed it for her because Mantrailing at this point in her behavior modification, this point in her life, someone at the end is never going to work for her. It's going to make her feel worse. Since we took away that person and we've done loads of tracking with that person, she's been absolutely fucking fantastic. The joy, she doesn't growl when she gets in the car. She's not scared of the people in the car park, which previously you had to be like part of the Red Sea love and make sure of space. She doesn't care, and she can recover. If somebody is stupid enough to speak to her, which I've had on occasion, because we'd tell her like, no, don't look, don't speak, because she's unusual looking, everyone looks, but don't speak to her. We have recently, someone spoke to her and she just growled and carried on. Previously, that would have been a fucking meltdown if anyone acknowledged her, like anyone looked in her direction. And she went, no, you're not going to touch me, I'm fine, and carried on. We changed her emotional response. It's going to take time. She's getting loads better. But because people were listening to her, her emotional response has changed. We built a better emotional response in her. She's much happier. Okay, super. What's the catch? Mantrailing is amazing. Mantrailing is amazing, but what's the catch? We can support a dog into spaces that they shouldn't be in with people. We have people that, the dog comes right to the trailer, give me the food, but they're not comfortable really. If that trailer moves, they're going to freak out. We can also expect too much of the dog. So we seek success really quickly. It's why mantrailing is much more popular than tracking is, because we get dopamine hits super fast to see our dogs work really well. Our dopamine spikes, great. And then we want more and more and more. And the emotional care for our dog kind of goes out the window really quickly. We kind of throw that out the rubbish bin and we just go, but I want the badges. And I think they get ready for the level 1. And I think we could do more urban. And I think me. And this dog's going, I really liked mantrailing, but now you're making it hard work and you're getting stressed when I'm not perfect. And I don't know what the center is because I'm still learning what you want me to do because you haven't explained it very well. So our dopamine spikes and we don't see as much successes and we hit this plateau. I've done a webinar before on the plateaus. It goes really, really good. You go, woohoo, and then you're stuck here. It's not a bad place to be. That's a really good place for a dog that has emotional needs. It's really important that we have this time for them to work out what the fuck they're going to do next. And so they don't go, bleh. They go, oh, you just find people and there's a stranger. And then they come back up when you get a bit more winning. It's important. We miss displacement behaviours. I'm guilty of this. A lot of instructors I see are guilty of this. It's like, oh, it's displacement behaviour. They're just fucking about on the trail. They're just being assholes. They're just pissing about. It's displacement behaviour. That dog is finding it hard work. So we need to adjust. If we're seeing a lot of like urine sniffing or mucking about or looking at the handler, barking, the dog's trying to fucking communicate something and we're not listening. So we need to understand why they're communicating it. Is it because it's a real trail that's upsetting them? Is it because the trail is upsetting them? What's upsetting them? And some dogs don't like it if you stay in the cars in between. They don't want to stay in the vehicles in between trails. Because it just doesn't work for them. It doesn't work for them. And that's okay. It doesn't work for every dog. But you can go home and play with friends. You can go home and do tracking. Like, there's other things that you can do that don't involve your dog being left in the vehicle and being upset. But mantrailing for most dogs, and I say most with caveat, probably 80% of dogs, whether they have reactivity issues with dogs, reactivity issues with people, whether they have issues with the environment, is going to help them. It is really going to help them because we can tip the trade drive, because we can control dopamine, because we control the person, because we control the environment for the most part, because we can work in a safe way, the same as you can do with scent work, the same as you can do with obedience or whatever else. You can work in a safe way. It is really, really good for most dogs, mantrailing, because once you've got a little bit off the training wheels and you start to expand the area, the dog's generalization of like, I'm in a safe place, I'm with safe people, becomes amazing and it starts to change. So it can be so amazing for so many dogs, but on the flip side, trailers can fuck it up, the environment can fuck it up, and we as handlers and instructors can really fuck it up. So we've got to be careful. How to get started? I think most of you on here are probably already doing some sort of mantrailing, tracking, some scent work. Find an instructor. But if you have a dog with a complex behavioural need, you have a dog that's dog aggressive, a dog that's human aggressive, speak to that instructor before you just book some mantrailing. There is loads of really, really good instructors out there. There are loads of instructors out there that haven't got a behaviour background or dog training background. They're still really good instructors. I'm not going to be like, yeah, no, you haven't done loads of years of dog training, so therefore you're not good enough. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when you have a dog with complex needs, you need to speak to somebody that understands those complex needs and isn't going to just dump you in the middle of town and hope for the best. It's really important that happens because Mantrailing is a high dopamine situation. It's therefore a high adrenaline situation, and that is a high bite risk situation. I've done another conversation talking about arousal in Mantrailing and how it's an issue. And that is not what I'm going to tonight because I will really get my high horse about that one. But Mantrailing can tip loads of arousal issues, that kind of like fuck. And you get this holy shit moment where the dogs come off. And there's a really good blog on my website about that. Really worth reading some of my blogs because some of the stuff that I've talked about tonight gets extrapolated out a bit more. Not instructors are the same. Not all instructors have a decade of fucking behaviour work behind them. But the ones that don't are very good instructors, but they're maybe not the right instructor right now for your dog with complex needs. Be honest about your dog's needs. Don't fucking lie and say, oh, a bit barky sometimes, when your dog actually fucking loses its mind, because they can't keep you safe. They can't set you up for success. They don't know where the start point is. The start point is my dog's really anxious and barks at lots of people and things. Then they can set up locations that work for that. They can maybe get volunteers help, or they can say, hey, let's do a private one and bring some family members with you for your dog to find, because we don't want to make sure they're set up for success. Don't fucking tell them they can't set stuff up. But your own trail layer is a really good one. I fucking love people that do that, because I can set up for success really quickly. And all that trail need to do is come some layers on, keep nice and warm, and something that smells like them, an article. And jobs are good. And the one thing about tracking, and why I push some tracking, I do tracking a lot of my reactive dogs, is at home. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need anybody else. You can just lay tracks out by yourself and have lots of fun. So once you've learned the basic skills of tracking, you can have loads of fun by not having to deal with anybody, which is even better. And then you can track in places that may be a little bit more busy around people, but you can do it in a safe way. But yeah, so yes, start Mantrailing. Yes, start tracking. Yes, get your dog out there and start working on your behaviour issues. But do not just chill with anybody. Please, please, please think about who you're working with and ask them, question them. If you're not 100% comfortable, then go with your gut. I'm not this perfect instructor for everybody, but I'm bloody good with reactive dogs. Questions, anybody? I have just talked for an hour straight, and I think you've all lost your mind. Any questions on that, guys? It doesn't have to be specifically related to it, just any questions on what we're working with here. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Ooh. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Feel free to add something to chat if you want to. If there are any questions on building emotional resilience. Ooh, talk about arousal levels, please, and high drive dogs. So I can go on all day about that one. So arousal is obviously when that dog's in a heightened state. So we get aroused, we get really upset about stuff. I had a situation today in the supermarket where things went a little bit wrong. A small child got a situation with a gobshite of a person, and my arousal levels went high. I was no longer in the optimum state of thinking. So we need arousal to learn, and we have the Yerkes-Dodson law, where we have optimal arousal and optimal learning. And as that arousal peak, so you get this little line where arousal is going up, learning is going up. Here's a point where your arousal will peak and your learning will fucking drop. So when we build arousal into our dogs, so we start to wind them up at the beginning, we do those intensity. When we tap too much into that pro drive, so we took too much OCD and too much stress on the dogs, we can tip the dogs over the edge of the cliff and actually have loads of arousal and like zero learning. So when we're talking about emotional state and emotional change, what we need to do is have a look at, like, is our dog exhibiting over-arousal behaviours? Is it spinning? Is it barking? Is it dragging to go? Is it snapping? Is it frustration redirection? Is it grabbing at the line? Is it picking up a scent article? Is it going to do 40 Ps before it starts? Because these are all arousal behaviours that might mean that a dog's not in the best emotional state to start off with. And what we need to do is be cautious about how we're working. So yeah, okay, there's a blog on it, but if you look at the Yerkes Dobson's law, sorry. So it talks about it really well, and it's not just related to dogs, it's related to people as well. So like if you come for a training day with me and you're a bit stressed about a training day and you want to learn, but I set up some trails that are too hard for you as a handler, and you start to get more stressed that you might get something wrong, and oh my god, Kathryn's looking at me. Like, I'm never judging anybody, so please don't feel like that. But people do, I know they do. Get to a point where their arousals come too high and they're not learning anymore. So they've fallen off that cliff. The dogs might be, but the handler fell off about 15 minutes ago. So everything's about management and how we work, and management in how we work our dogs as well. And working through stuff. So yeah, just watch arousal when you're doing things. And every dog's a bit different. So some dogs are more prone to arousal. So all my dogs, all the breeds of dogs I have, are high arousal dogs. And I have a very emotionally charged pack. So I have to be careful how the arousals go and how I work things. And Kincaid, my Malinois Labrador, is a really good example of a dog with emotional issues. Because she's two very conflicting breeds, what tends to happen is that if she's stressed, the Malinois kicks in, the arousal goes through, so she gets really high adrenaline, the hormone that goes with that, loses her mind, and then can't get back down. And the Labrador gets lost in the wind. How much do you pain relief drugs affect dogs emotionally? Also, hormonal females. Oh, the bitches. The bitches be crazy. Hormones have lots to answer to. So I've seen it in several books. I cannot find a source for it, and it's doing my nutting. In several scent books it said that female dogs have, it's well known, and it's written, the sentence is, it's well known that female dogs have a better sense of smell than male dogs until they're in season. And I'm like, where is the source for this? What is this? And I have tried to find this imaginary source, haven't yet found it. So if anyone finds a paper on that or finds a source for it, please, for the love of God, tell me. And I think it is born of hormones and that high progesterone and the high estrogen situation before dogs have a season, before women. Because like when I was pregnant, my little one, anyone that's pregnant tells you can smell everything and it makes you feel sick constantly. It's whichever hormones do doolally things. Who knows? I just tried to block that part of my life. My pregnancy was not fun. Can affect how dogs sense. So yes, so some bitches in a cycle can be better at smelling and taking scent in, and then other parts of the cycle they can be worse because they don't they my brain rebooted then, here you go. So don't prioritize the scent basically because I think about other things. So you get that like survival business compared to scent work. So yes, some bitches, I don't mind bitches in my session of season, it makes no difference to me because you got to meet bitches in season in the real world. But some dogs just useless in it. My first German Shepherd couldn't train her for 3 weeks. My other dogs makes no difference. Gin wouldn't even know she was in season. So yeah, pain relief drugs, I don't know. And I know that some things like steroids and other things can affect their nose because we've been told by medical professionals and things like that, and some antibiotics because they ruin the bacteria in parts of the body, because antibiotics aren't just, on this wound. They hit the whole body, not a specific area. So yeah, so some medications can affect how dogs scent or dogs perceive scent. Don't know anything about it. It's a conversation to have with a veterinary professional or with a veterinary behaviourist to talk on that one, because there's loads of different information, because different chemicals affect different parts of the brain. But yes, you have a dog, it's really important actually that you tell your instructor if you're using any sort of pain medication or behaviour medication with your dog, that you let them know, because it can affect some dogs and therefore affect their trailing, but also affect things like their arousal levels and their training, because it affects their emotions. Thank you for coming, Ilka. Could the females losing the ability to scent well in season be scent well? Could females losing the ability to scent whilst in season be breed specific? Potentially. Never really thought that hard about it. My shepherds were always the worst, and you think they just work through a season. My springers don't even know they're in season. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't got enough data on that one. I cannot answer that question. That's cool, Claire. Thank you.
Yeah, we Well, we were actually trail hunting. Well, we did mantrailing yesterday, and we trail hunted today. And we commented on that the dogs, yes, have still got ridiculous drive for the scent source in trail hunting. Sorry, Wally's just having a dick fit because I'm speaking to you. Um, Wally, enough, thank you. He's supposed to be asleep. Um, but this, but like my clients who've seen him work quite a bit as well, and just like even he's like a lot more under control ish. And I was like, I said, do you know what I think it is? I think because we haven't got a person at the end and we've taken the emotion out of it. Because I remember, I don't know if it was you or one of the other um more senior instructors, like on the arguments of why we absolutely do not put pet dogs going out operationally, is because that when we're doing man trailing, for fun, everyone's happy, happy, happy. The dogs are just dealing with that emotion. And if you go out operational, it's a whole different thing and they can react to it. And I said, I was like, so obviously we're still all very happy trail hunting, as you know, but it's more a steady sort of thing because it's the same scent. There's not a person that could react, like you say, like my nemesis is trail layers who don't just keep calm. Spaniel.
Yes.
But yeah, he's really and also I was going to message you earlier, but then the webinar came on. He's in such a better mood since we've done that tracking with you for a month, and we've not really done that much.
Yeah, so like it's emotional change in a dog, isn't it? So tipping into trail hunt, for those who don't know what it is, it's following an aniseed trail to a source at the end of aniseed, and it's no people, no human scent, and it's really good fun. The dogs, get to have a great time with it. But there's no emotional, like there's a weirdo at the fucking end, and you're not picking up their emotions. And actually flip into that one, just my brain ticking around, is obviously when you're finding a person, you don't know what situation they're in, whether you're doing sports or operational, is they could be on a really shit day and like absolutely bellowing out really shit hormones. So we've all had a bad day, and the dogs are like, I'm not going near you. You're being weird today. I can I can smell the stress on you a mile away. Fuck off. So you can have those things, but yeah, by taking away the person at the end for Wally, because Wally fucking loves people, and it was finding obviously the intensity and like the fact person was leaving again, quite stressful. We managed to change his emotional response. It wasn't necessarily what you were aiming to do, because I think you were just learning lots of new things with him, but it's been a really good outcome for him. Because Wally's just a happy spaniel, but he's one of those, I'm a really happy spaniel. I'm a happy spaniel. And it's a really good fallout, actually, because now you can reflect on it and go, actually, my dog's, these things have really helped his emotion to be calmer, but he hasn't lost any happiness.
Oh no, you never take the drive out of this. But it's funny because the heel to music people think he's really sensitive, whereas I'm like, no, it's just like a fucking bull in a china shop. So I don't know. But I mean, I know when I went trailing in the maze with Jane, probably the year before last now. I just had a really freaking shit day with the house, and I nearly didn't take him at all. And I just got there. I had to just say to Jane, I was just like, "Do you know what? I'm in a shit place right now. Can we like, no matter what you thought you were going to throw challenges at us, can we just get from A to B quite sensibly? That'd be nice."
Just like a nice trail. Yeah, and that's a
Yeah,
great thing, because you can change
you've
stuff
got to be
depending on
aware
what's.
of your own, where you are as a handler,
Yeah,
and if you know you're off, then don't start achieving like complex trails. Just do whatever distance you're at and just do a nice happy trail, and then you'll get your dopamine hit, and then you can get over whatever it was.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So Jane's put several bitches and seasons that trail me, and they've been fine. Yeah, I've never really had an issue with it. They don't cope, but this is you can this is a great thing. You can do it or you're not gonna do it. Like it's just anecdotally, is it something we need to be aware of? Who knows? There's not enough data. Antibiotics, yeah. Antibiotics affect dogs' behavior all the time, affects so many different things, because we don't know a lot about it. Fiona was more about how drugs can affect the emotional state. Computer. The state is obviously they already changed the emotional state around pain. Yeah. So when you're talking about things like I don't know, fluoxetine and cloxicalm and gabapentin, they're emotional state changing drugs that have various effects on dogs and people and blah blah blah. They could affect the emotion, and it's something that you need to be aware of, basically. If you're not aware of it and you're not sure, you need to speak to your instructor about these things and keep a note of it. It's one of the good reasons to keep a logbook. Keep a note of how your dog is on these sessions or how your dog is in the real world when you add things, medical things in that might affect them. Because at the end of the day, dogs can't tell you how they feel. So, like, I've had hormone replacement stuff recently because my hormones are Doulalis and having a baby, and it made me cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Now, I knew I was being crazy, but I couldn't stop myself. I didn't have the emotional, like, don't do the stupid thing, Kathryn. But I knew it was bad, and I had the, like, feeling of, like, oh, fuck, I should be doing this. And that like fuck, but I didn't have enough brain power to not be the dickhead. So it's definitely worth a little bit of knowing those things as well, and just thinking a little bit. Sorry, my pinky's banging something down. Handle stories, let instructors know that they're in a shit place, because we can adapt things. Or if there's something new with your dog, or recently had someone have a conversation with me about there was a dog they don't like the trail layer, and the dog doesn't like trail layer, and it's affecting their dog's trailing. Didn't really want to trail for that trail layer. That's okay. You need to just let us know, because we can affect stuff. Any book recommendations to read up on someone interested in this topic? Is it a Mantrailing topic, or is it behaviour stuff? Because there is a lot of information out there, like a serious amount. Mantrailing stuff, not so much, not with the emotional stuff, not the way I'm talking about stuff, because Mantrailing's just been like, we do this and we do that. But there are like lots of books out there on emotional stuff. I can have a little look. Mantrailing. So if it's just Mantrailing stuff, the old original, but take everything with a pinch of salt, is the Cocker Method book, How to Train a Police Bloodhound. To take everything with a pinch of salt. It's good, but it needs an update. It's way out of date now. Jeff Shetler's one, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called. Jeff Shetler, GAK9, he does a good book. One of my favourite books, not necessarily on Mantrailing, but on kind of how dogs follow scent, and it's fabulous, is this one. Maybe wants to geek out on like detector dogs and scent movement is a really good one. And it's one of my favourite ones. Where's the other one gone? You want dog training and emotional stuff? You've got Dog Training Decoded by Simon Prinz. Amazing one. There's some really cool stuff out there at the moment. I'm going to shamelessly plug myself in a minute. I'm going to shamelessly plug myself. I'm going to screen share and shamelessly plug my shit. So if you want to geek out, and I always advise that you geek out, guys, I talk a lot about Mantrailing online in my webinars over my Patreon. So if you go over to my Patreon at the moment and use it before 21st December, you can have 50% off the first month. It's usually £10 a month. You can get it for £5 a month if you want to. If you sign up for 1 month and cancel it, I won't blame you. There's 18 months, almost 2 years worth of content in there now, of every month doing a webinar, of doing bonus content, of talking about Mantrailing, of setting up stuff for Mantrailing, of different aspects of Mantrailing. There is so many hours of fucking knowledge in there now. And you can listen to it as a podcast, a lot of it, through Spotify, or you can watch the webinars. So you can follow the QR code and it will take you to the website. Or if you go to Patreon, type trailing canines in and use the code emotions, you can sign up for 50% off. There is some free stuff on there, but I've got to pay the bills. That is only to the 21st of December. But yeah. Let's have a look. Some people have put in the chat here some really good books. Training Dogs to Use Their Nose, Blueprint is another great one. Yeah, I've not finished that one yet. That's good. And send word Mantrailing. Mantrailing is me. Come and do my Patreon. The books are few and far between because it's such a physical sport, this Mantrailing stuff, and the same with scent work. There's lots of people who talk about how to do it. There's lots of people who talk about just the science. The emotional bit, not so much. A lot of it you're going to have to kind of extrapolate on your own with different things. Actually, some of the best books I've ever had on emotional stuff is like the old police dog training manuals. And I've got some like fucking 30, 40-year-old books, or books older than me, that talk about different things. They're amazing. They're so much fun. But yeah, you do shit tons from like doing and observing. And yeah, it's really good fun. Patreon allows you to buy gift memberships. Everyone wants to put it on their Christmas list. Yeah, it does. I only discovered that the other day. I do a lot of free content though as well. So not just like these kind of webinars. I have a Facebook group called Talking Trailing, which is linked. You can see it written there on the board. Talking Trailing is a free Facebook group where they do live webinars on different things to do with Mantrailing. Not always like emotional stuff like this. This webinar was kind of born off the back of something else. But it's there for you if you want it. Let's say if you want to try the Patreon and come a little nosy at what I do, it's 50% off for when you sign up for the first month, and then it's 10. So it's £5 a month if you sign up now before 21st December, and after that it's £10 a month. It's not expensive. You can come and go as you please. I don't care if you come in for 2 months, watch everything and cancel, come back. I don't blame you. We're all going to do things. It's one of those things. But yeah, if you want to come into Mantrailing, you want to learn more, even if you're in those countries that you haven't necessarily got access to a lot of instructors, there's lots of information online now. If you just type Mantrailing to YouTube, if you come and have a look at the free stuff, if you get in touch with people, that you can learn lots of different things. And the same with tracking. Say Jeff Shetler, GAK9, there's some really good books from him. The Cochrane Method. There are other books I believe that are going to come out in the next year or two from other people. It's all knowledge. Remember, knowledge it's all people's opinions. So take it in, learn a little bit, extrapolate it, and then go from there. But if you want to learn the most, even if you're not an instructor, if you're just a handler who wants to learn, you need to be observing other people's trails and learning a little bit from those as well, because there's loads to learn. There's absolutely loads to learn. And now is the time to sit down and learn, because we're all going to sit at Christmas nice and fat with lots and lots of food, and we can sit and listen to my webinars. Listen to me talk for more hours at you. What more could you want? But yeah, the QR code will take you straight there. But if not, go to Patreon, type in Trailing Canines, up. Any more questions, guys? Any more? Well, you've got me here. If you don't have questions now, but you do have something a little bit later on, or there's something that crops up, just catch me on the socials. Get me over on Facebook, Trailing Canines. Drop me an email, trailingcanines@gmail.com. Like, just drop me a WhatsApp, whatever. I'm here. I don't mind having a quick conversation with people. I do like some online mentoring type stuff if people need it, but I'm always happy to have a little quick chat with somebody about something. That's what we're here for. And kind of, support. But with your emotional straight Mantrailing dog, for me, that the end result is you need to know your dog and think about what you're doing when you're doing Mantrailing. Do not just set up some random trails and hope for the best. It's not going to benefit you. You need to think about these things better, because otherwise it's going to end in tears every time. But thank you guys for sticking around for an hour and a half. I really appreciate it. And I'm sure I will see some of you in the new year for lots and lots of Mantrailing. But if you need anything, just come and find me. Thanks, guys.